Aaron Hawksworth, Paul Aspen, joined by 6-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Super Bowl champion, former Chiefs defensive lineman Neil Smith. And Neil, we are so excited to pick your brain. I know you've played in a couple Super Bowls, and I'm just curious how you think this one will start. Are you expecting a slower start, or do you think both teams just come out firing?
I'll tell you, I think both teams going to come out firing. There's no question. I think whoever gets the football want to score first and, to set the tempo, or if it happens to be a turnover early to get the teams both going. Anything that's like fireworks or get the fans involved in it early is going to be what's to be expected in this game.
Speaking of fireworks, so Super Bowl, you played in a couple, and as the years go by, there's more pomp and circumstance, every year. So it's just not the same routine. So how different was that for you when you played, and how do you think that's going to impact, whether it's the anthem, it's the fireworks, it's the long layoff, halftime and before the game, all the media, all that. How does that impact the start of the game or anything on the field, or how did it for you?
Well, you just have to have patience. The pregame stuff is always longer. You have extra 30 minutes, and at halftime that really you can just relax yourself. But I think that you got to embrace the game, and that's the advantage of the Chief one, because they've been there before. With most of the groups that they have there, and then the advantage of them to having that how to pursue that and what to do to make it successful. So I think that, not taking anything from Philly, that, they both teams have to go through it. And I really believe that the Chiefs have the advantage of, wanting to just happen to settle their team down earlier and then, keep the ball in control. And I think the running game is going to be crucial on both sides.
Yeah. We'll get to some anytime touchdown props in a second, but I want to ask you and pick your brain about Patrick Mahomes and this high ankle sprain, because you said you even played through it before. I mean, how impressive was it what we saw from him in the last game, and what are you expecting from him in the Super Bowl?
Well, I think that, they're going to take care of him pretty much throughout the week. And, of course, try to strengthen the ankle, because it's a weak part of the ankle. When you have a high ankle sprain, it's just a lingering effect that, the muscle that goes way up and really you can't get to it. That hurts, tremendously when you apply pressure on it and go to, your right to the left. So I really think that Patrick's going to, do whatever it takes to make it work. He's a very competitive guy. Once the adrenaline starts flowing, you don't feel injuries. You try to go through the process. And if it's not there, if you get hit, if you tweak it again, you're going to see it. There's no way you can hide that. I just think that, it's good that if his offensive line ever showed up, they have to show up this game, because they got a big task at hand, with the Philadelphia first front and how they get at things. So I don't think that looking at it, that Andy Reid would ever take the ball out of Patrick's hands and control it by the run, but he will try to run the football.
So you're taking me exactly where I want to go, that Eagles defensive line. So as a pass rusher, even if he's Mahomes at 75, 80%, is there anything you can do differently to try and exploit this ankle injury, or which direction he's going, other than hitting him, obviously? Can you go
wide? You can't hit no more, but go ahead. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's fine hit, right?
Right, yeah, what it is now. But taking wider angles or anything technique-wise that you'd be like, all right, I know this guy is banged up with this specific injury. Is there anything you can do differently or specifically that you would want to do?
The average football fan would say, just send everybody at this guy and see where he's at, this and that. But you got to be very, very careful with this young man. This young man can see things real quick, and he can react to things that, that he's accustomed to. So Patrick has got a really unique kind of style of him. He just like Jalen in a sense, though, he extended, the plays to all the way to the boundaries. Which just when you think he's out of the bound, he'll do something to try to make something happen. And that's what excites him. But making him stay in the pocket maybe be a good task to try to see what he can do and how he do it. But you got to make him, if you're really trying to test to see where he's at, you got to put him on the run. But I think that he's ready for it. I think he's ready for the task. Whatever it takes, whether it's the medicine that they're going to put in it, to make him work. And he's going to be ready for it. He's going to be ready for it.
What about Patrick Mahomes when it comes to his passing yards? It opened up at 286.5, and now it's been bed up to 294.5. Is that too low? Because obviously we know Pat Mahomes is capable of going over that. Or would you go under because of the injury?
Well, I think that people are going to speculate they're going to go under. But if he have to throw the football every down, he will go over. So I can't tell you how to lean towards it or whatever, but this guy can throw the football. If you become one dimension, he can do whatever it takes, to sit in there. And it's really showed how he grew up from a year ago when he had the big fireworks over the top with Tyree Hill, and now you see this guy where he got a whole new show where he's spreading the football all around to all the different teammates that he's throwing it to, Kelsey and Pacheco. And I know that a couple of receivers that's banged up, but anybody that steps in this game, they got to make plays to make them win. And so it's going to be some plays out there to be made.
So let's suit you back up in a Chiefs defensive uniform, back to your heyday. So we've talked a lot about Eagles defense against Patrick Mahomes. What about the Eagles offense? Like, where do you see the biggest challenge for that Chiefs defense?
I think the biggest challenge is going to be up front, no question, is their running game and how the quarterback Hurts plays a key role in how they success. They got a lot of zone blocking. They got an OPI where they actually looking at run stop options, and you got to reach your keys. You got to play your keys right. And if you take one step, this kid will take advantage of you, and he know how to score the football. He's always been a champion, and up and watching him how he moved from one team to the next team, but he always can adjust. He can adjust on the run. What
are you expecting out of Miles Sanders?
Well, I expect a lot out of Miles. He's a name to be reckoned with because no one knows about this kid, but he can run the football, and I think he can be a different.
Is it tougher on a defense that they can interchange all those three backs and keep them fresh? Like, how do you prepare for something like that if there is a way to?
Well, the Chiefs have that ultimate perfect backfield where they can rotate backs and get Pacheco and get the ball. Now they'll have three different backs in a football game to do different things. Philadelphia, they would have to do more with just one back. They would have to try to put different type of style. And this game is no holdback. It's a big chess match that's won and lost between coaches and players that are making plays. And Andy Reid know how to win it and he know how to lose it. So I think that he's going to learn from his mistake what could he did better in the last loss in the Super Bowl. And I think he's going to do more of the things that he know what his team is capable of doing. And that gives them the little winning edge, I think.
What do the Eagles need to do defensively to try to contain Travis Kelce? Because that dude finds a way to get open no matter what the coverage is.
Yeah, Travis is special and unique in his own ways. What people don't know, Travis is tall, he's big, he's a physical guy, and he goes about manner in his own little zone. But if you look at him, if you get him going early, the Eagles are going to have to, they're going to have to put a good coverage guy on him, first of all and foremost. But it's never one guy can ever, really shut this guy down. There's never been one receiver because he got such good hands. And what he does after catching the football on the run and how he does it is why Travis Kelce is one of the top two, if not one, defensive offensive ends in football.
So Andy Reid going against a team where he coached for a long time, a Philly native, grew up with Big Red on the sidelines. Sure. When you went from the Chiefs to the Broncos, that first game, and on a massive stage, Andy is facing this former team. But when you're facing that team that you played for, just how much do you think that factors in? How much is that on Andy's mind this week? Like, I want to, have that extra motivation against a team that cut ties with them at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think that, as a player, you look at it and, things is different. You're on a different sideline, you got different colors, and then the fans are booing you, and being this stage that it's pretty corporate, that, you're going to have your fans in there. I think that Andy did some great things in Philly, no question. I know it's going to be on his mind. If it's one thing I have to tell him to do and to say, if he's getting ready to try to get his team going, is like, win this one for me. Because I think that will be, the ultimate call that, if you get fired one place and you have success in another place, you want to beat the former team that you played.
I think you could make the argument that the Eagles are the better overall team on paper, but I've learned don't bet against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Where are you at with that?
I am all over that. And it's been a trend that Kansas City has been blessed that we have, Coach Reid, that if you give him a bye, if you come off of a week of preparing for you, the outcome has been in his favor. So it still relies in this, having another week or two to get prepared for the Eagles. As good as they are on paper and two pretty basic even teams as it's going into this football game, I think I'm going to give him the winning edge because of that. I know I'm from Kansas City. I live there, and I can't say the wrong things, but I'm really going to give him this edge because he deserves it, and it doesn't lie on paper.
Do you have any favorite ways you like to bet the Super Bowl, whether it's fun stuff or more game related? You've obviously could bet on guys to get a sack. The books are expecting a high game with a total of 50.5. So as a defensive guy, would you maybe want to go under that? How are you looking to bet this game, if at all?
I wouldn't go over. I wouldn't go take the over on that.
Okay.
I think it's too big and too good defenses that I don't think that they would give up that type of them type of points of the over. If you want to bet, bet. The longest run, Pacheco or one of the backs. You want to bet the sacks, you can bet, on both sides as far as the sacks and see how it is. Who's going to catch the first ball or the first touchdown? I'll put your parlay together, between two teams and make it happen. It's not about how smart you are. It's about how you can do it.
I got one more for you. Gatorade. Did you know what color Gatorade was in the Gatorade, like when you played in the Super
I
Bowl?
love this question.
And who decides that? Who determines that?
I don't think it's no decision what it was. Orange has always been Gatorade as far as on our sideline, besides the pink lemonade they had pink, but the orange was the very first one. Who decides it? Whoever get that bucket first to want to get it done. It's no saying. It's been more than one. Some throwing on the head coaches, other throwing on defense coordinators and everything else.
Who would you be looking at to kind of have a bad game or like not get a lot of volume? It's not as sexy of a bet, but who would you fade?
Well, I would fade probably this. If anybody I would say that probably the Chiefs secondary, being as young as they are, they have a big hand and task, and if you want to bet something that if it goes one-sided, you would have to probably bet there because they're young and they have such great receivers on Philadelphia's side.
Awesome. Former Chiefs defensive end Neil Smith, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the Super Bowl. We'll be back with BetQL Daily presented by BetMGM.